On this week's episode, a horror monster showdown. Who will come out on top? We'll find out if it's worth spending your night watching Five Nights at Freddy's. The new film, The Holdovers, makes Boston look beautiful. And saying goodbye to a friend. This is The Hub on Hollywood. I'm James.
I'm Jamie. Could we be any sadder, James? Okay, all right. I just want to clear the air here, James. You came up with that joke, okay? I was just repeating it. But very sadly, yes, we're going to be
clear, I read that online.
Yeah, I know. We're going to be talking about the passing of Matthew Perry, unfortunately. So sad to see him go. Very surprised that there are memes that are now exploding, but I think that that's just the way that this generation mourns, James. I think that that's just how they communicate.
Yeah,
what do you think?
And so, really sad, but no, it's sad. Very surprising. I read the news early or late last night, I guess, really late last night. The news was coming out from TMZ. Matthew Perry, in case you didn't know, of Friends fame, passed away Saturday night at 54 years old. Apparently, it looks like he died from a drowning in a jacuzzi in his home in Los Angeles. Right now, reports say that there doesn't appear to be any drugs or foul play involved, and so the autopsy is, of course, going on. But yeah, it's very surprising. He was just coming off of this book tour, this nationwide book tour with a new memoir that came out, going over his life, his career, and his struggles, that he was very candid and very open about, talking about his drug and alcohol addiction. And to be honest, when I first heard that he passed away, my first gut reaction was, hopefully this wasn't due to drugs or alcohol, because he was talking about how he is sober or was sober, and how he's been fighting like day after day to remain that way.
Yeah.
And so my first gut reaction was, hopefully it wasn't that, but still, it's not any better. But it's just so sad hearing that he passed away in his jacuzzi, and then a lot of speculation of what led to that.
Well, it is a shocker. And I feel like a lot of people grew up with him. I know that Chandler and Monica, that was like my very first TV couple, like my favorite TV couple growing up. And all of the other films that he has created and produced really have a place in the heart of pop culture and of culture in general. So it is a very, very big shock. He's 54 years old, but when people struggle with drinking and addictions and things like that, James, even when they're clean, it can leave a lasting impact on their bodies. And it's not uncommon for people to have a heart attack or a stroke, and then if they're in the water, there's nothing you can do. So it's very sad. We honor his memory. Taken far too young, just 54 years old, which is honestly 50 is the new 30. So we are sending our best wishes to his family and to all of his fans who are mourning Chandler Bing in their own ways, apparently. But that's just what we've got to do now.
Yeah, I think he would. As you mentioned, a lot of memes have popped out, but a lot of them not in a negative or bad light, but kind of celebrating Matthew Perry and his character, his most known character on Friends. And so I think, at the very end, I think he would like people to laugh at a time like this. Maybe, obviously it's tragic, but hopefully, people do remember the good times. They watch those episodes and are able to have a laugh again. But yeah, Matthew Perry, 54 years old, way too young. But let's lighten this up. Let's talk about the things that are still happening in the TV and filming industry. And I guess we have a little update when it comes to the SAG-AFTRA strike. Is that right?
Yes. Well, right now they are continuing to talk. All right. Negotiations are not over. They haven't broken down completely. There's still hope. So negotiators from both sides, from the producers and from SAG-AFTRA, they're meeting throughout the weekend after talking all week long. We've gone through a number of proposals back and forth. And from what I am hearing, there is cautious optimism that they are inching towards a deal. One of the big sticking points, James, has been the revenue sharing from the streaming services. Residuals are what actors have traditionally been able to live off of, but the way that streaming services are, they have not been paying those residuals in the ways that actors have been paid before. There have been a number of rumors that if they don't come up with a deal in this coming week, that could be it for the year. Those rumors are unsubstantiated. We don't know if that is exactly what is going to be going on. But I did have a quick question for you, James, before we move on. Now, this one's a little bit controversial, right?
Okay.
SAG-AFTRA put out some. SAG-AFTRA put on out some guidance on Halloween for actors who are on strike right now. I'm, to the best of my ability, trying to adhere to those recommendations, which are dress as a strike actor, not as the IPs, not as the movie, the movie characters, the films that we are all on strike from right now, to sort of send a message. I can kind of see the pros and cons of that. I'm towing the line right now just a bit. So I've got my
for those
SAG
who
gear
are
on,
listening.
And I am half dressed as I'm on strike IP redacted doll person. So I hope that passes the muster. But where do you sort of weigh in on, does Halloween matter? Do we really need to be that focused on what we're dressing as for Halloween?
So right now, I'm not sure if you saw on Saturday Night Live, but they made fun of this exactly. They had a skit with some kids who came in dressed as different movie characters, like Barbie. I think there was like an Oppenheimer or something. I don't remember, but there were some IP costumes that kids were dressed as. And then Fran Drescher, and I forget who plays her, but the character playing an actor playing Fran Drescher walks into the scene and says, "Hey, you can't do this. You have to support the union. You can't dress up. You can't dress up as a movie character, or else you're going to be a scab and all this stuff." And so it was a funny skit, and even before that happened, Ryan Reynolds joined the discussion. He went on Twitter and was joking that he can't wait to start yelling "scab" at his 9-year-old or 8-year-old daughter when she dresses up as Barbie or somebody. And then after that, SAG-AFTRA released a statement via Twitter saying, hey, this rule or this guidance, really. So it's not really a hard rule, but it's a guidance. It's a strong recommendation not to dress up as IP characters. And so they were saying, the kids are allowed and should, dress up as whatever they'd want to be. For the SAG-AFTRA actors and members, we strongly encourage you not to dress like that to promote inadvertently promoting certain movies over others. And so, I think it's kind of silly. I don't think it's a hill that SAG-AFTRA decided to die on, as they did come out with that statement and kind of loosen things up a bit. But of course, it was very fun to make fun of and poke fun of. And I think, it's Halloween. I don't think seeing people or actors dressed up as certain characters is going to be promoting certain movies.
No.
I'm not sure if that. I'm not going to die on that hill either.
No, A, kids are not scabs, and B, if they want to be scared, actors only have to look at their paychecks. So, there you go. Halloween is covered.
There we go.
And if you also really want to be scared, Five Nights at Freddy's might not be the scariest option in the movie theaters. But it was definitely entertaining. So if you're cool with it, James, I'm going to dive into Five Nights at Freddy's review.
Yeah, no, go for it. I understand this is a movie based off a very popular video game franchise, right?
That's right. So the Five Nights at Freddy's video game franchise, the game came out in about 2014, and this is a loose sort of interpretation or adaptation of that game. It takes some characters and makes them new, it shuffles things around a little bit, but the core parts of the story of the game were really kept intact. I went opening night. I've watched some of the gameplay, James, for Five Nights at Freddy's. It is very bone-chilling, right? So if you've ever played the game or watched people play the game, you are a security guard who is sitting in the security office of the defunct Freddy's Pizzeria playtime place, right? And you have to watch these animatronics that roam freely through the place at night. But if they see you, they think that supposedly, they think that you are an animatronic without its outside, right? Without its cover. That you're just like a skeleton of an animatronic, and they will shove you into an animatronic. But the devices inside will shred you up and all of that. So that's at least from the original game. There's so much more lore and backstory that goes into it. But this, I think, is a really decent interpretation of a video game movie. We've had Lara Croft Tomb Raider and a number of other ones that are just sort of shoot 'em up, pretty basic, straightforward. I was surprised that Five Nights at Freddy's had a little bit more of a plot going on that sort of took away from the constant, like, killing, running, gore, that sort of stuff is sort of interrupted with story, which I find refreshing as a not a big gore person, not a big gore slasher person. But I'm hearing mixed reviews because some people, that's all they wanted. They wanted more of the just pure gameplay aspect of it and a little bit less of the new stuff. So for those who don't know, the story of the movie, not the game, but the story behind this movie follows a character named Matt Schmidt, who's sort of down on his luck, and he has to take this night security job, sort of out of desperation so that he can maintain custody of his younger sister, Abby. And we come to learn that Mike also lost a brother when he was younger, who was kidnapped and murdered. And now he's working this security guard gig in this very creepy place. And what unfolds is something that at times follows the video games and at times doesn't. I think that this movie waffles between the gore and the horror and the comedy and the plot, and so it's a little bit strange in that it's not exactly one thing. So go into it with an open mind, especially if you're a fan of the game. But James, if you are a fan of the game, there were big moments. Like I went opening night, there were moments where the crowd erupted in cheers. There were a number of big cameos that if you are into YouTube, where a lot of people watch the gameplay, that's where I learned about Five Nights at Freddy's. So some of the big YouTubers who sort of brought the game more publicity and helped it with its popularity, they are a part of the movie as well. I don't want to give away too many spoilers. But yeah, so go into it with an open mind. If you're a big YouTube fan, you're going to be happy, you're going to be satisfied with some of those big appearances and whatnot, which is nice that they incorporated like the people who helped with the popularity of the game into the movie itself. There are some plot holes that I feel at the end that I wasn't very satisfied with. I'm like, but what about this? And but what about that? But there are other parts that were just pure game, like happened in the game, and people in the crowds were cheering, were screaming, were very excited about this. So I feel like this is maybe like a Gen Z to like older Gen Z sort of movie. And I think that there's something for everyone in there. But if you're going for just pure blood, gore all the time, like, you might be a little bit disappointed. So, what do you look for in this kind of movie, James?
I don't know. Yeah, so I know the gist of the game. I never really watched the reaction videos, but I've seen like mini clips, and so I understand this is PG-13. I know a lot of people were saying that they hoped that it would be a rated R, so it would kind of be more in line with how the game feels. But of course, you're gonna have movie studios that are gonna try to get as much of a wide audience as possible, and so PG-13. I've also heard that it's not too scary, so something that kids could also enjoy. Maybe those who are big fans would also enjoy the lore, or the lore that they go into it, that aspect of it. I'm not quite sure if I'm planning to watch this movie. Maybe I'll wait till it's out in streaming. Yeah. But would you? It sounds like you would suggest this to be like a pretty good fall, Halloween-ish time of year film to watch.
It's definitely a solid movie, especially if you're trying to drag your spouse out to go see a horror movie and they might not be into that sort of thing. Like, this is a good compromise. It's a good in between. And I also wanted to give a shout out to the cast. So, starring as Mike Schmidt is Josh Hutcherson from Hunger Games fame. This poor boy can't catch a break. Matthew Lillard of Scream. Right, Scream? Yes, Mr. Ghostface himself is back in this movie.
And Shaggy.
And Shaggy, right, who may or may not have a pretty big role in this. And he just looks so different. I wonder if they, like, aged him up, or they put some extra makeup on him. But they made him look sufficiently creepy. Elizabeth Lale plays Vanessa Monroe, who is the police officer who's a part of this. She's one of the original characters from the game who's sort of adapted a little bit. And we've got Piper Rubio as Abby Schmidt, who's just so adorable. And I loved her performance. I loved everything that she did in this movie. And she sort of brought the heart, really, to this film. So I give it a solid 7 out of 10 shirtless Kylo Rens. I recommend it as a very decent film to go out and see this Halloween. Yeah,
one thing that I've heard that many people are impressed by is the costumes. They are actual live action. I think some CGI may be used here and there, but for the most part, these are real suits that were made and operated by, I believe, like the Jim Henson company that makes all the puppets for a variety of movies and the Muppets and everything. They were behind the creation of these suits. So that's pretty cool that they went with the practical route.
Yeah, they were very effective in that. And I think that that's what makes it even that more creepy and under your skin, and gives that texture to the movie, absolutely. So Jim Henson's company continuing to make the movies feel real and come at you.
Excellent. So let us know, have you watched Five Nights at Freddy's? And if you have, what do you think? Leave us a comment down below or on our social media platforms at Hub on Hollywood on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. Very cool stuff. Also, speaking about very cool stuff, is we are, of course, in the Halloween season, the spooky mood. So I thought, what better way to celebrate than by having a horror monster bracket? Of finalizing which of these horror monsters and movies are the best out there. And so I found this one off of the Daily Dot, and they have this monster match. And they have everything from Jaws, Alien, to The Exorcist, to Carrie, to Psycho. And it's kind of broken down into 4 different categories, and we invite you along. We'll have a link down in the bio, so if you want to follow along with us and maybe, pick your own movie. Maybe you don't agree fully with Jamie and I, but we're going to go down this and see which movie, which characters come out in this monster matchup.
Now, I appreciate these categories a lot, because as we were sort of thinking about how we were going to do like a matchup of movies, like they do a very good job of categorizing these between slashers, creatures, zombies, and paranormal. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with, I like slashers. So let's start with slashers. We'll stop in the top right. And so we'll go with our first picks, Halloween versus Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, Jamie, we've talked about this before, especially during the last episode. Halloween is my favorite horror movie of all time, though I also do love Nightmare on Elm Street. It paved the way and really changed the game for the horror movie slasher film industry. So I can honestly, now saying this out loud, I was going to say I can go either way, but my heart really still lies with Halloween. I think you may be the deal breaker, the tiebreaker. What are you leaning towards?
Well, no, I agree with you. I think just for the cultural impact alone and for the Halloween costume that people will wear into eternity, that we really need to go with Halloween.
Excellent. So I'm writing in Halloween.
Oh, can I edit this too?
No, you can't, but I can.
Okay.
We have. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can look at us down below. Don't worry, Jamie. We're doing this together.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. So our next category: Friday the 13th versus Psycho. Where are you leaning? And what's your argument?
Just because I couldn't shower in a shower for years, I still am kind of scared.
Oh God!
Every time you go into a shower, right? You close the curtain, you wonder, right? You're afraid to close your eyes because you don't know if somebody or something is. Just for that, I have to go Psycho. I have to go.
Same here. Well, just making sure you did shower for years during the.
I did shower, but I was nervous.
Shower. Okay.
You know what I mean? I was scared. I did shower, people. Yeah, you can't smell me through the screen.
You scared me for a second. You started by saying I couldn't shower. Like what?
I couldn't shower without just being scared. Yeah.
I gotcha. All right. Coming up next, we have Candyman versus Audition. I will be honest, I have not seen Audition. I believe it's a Japanese film, and it's a story of this guy who, if my recollection is correct, he goes to the service where he's purchasing girls to be his future wife, but then the girl that he purchases or selects turns out to be like a killer, and I think I have not seen the movie, but I think that's the gist of it. Kills him and kills other people involved. I have seen Candyman once years ago, and I liked it. So I'm leaning more towards Candyman just out of default.
I don't know. Based on that description, I think that I would go Audition. It sounds satisfying. It sounds satisfying. How are we going to break ties? Have we discussed how we're going to break ties? Should we do rock, paper, scissors? Or
okay, let's do that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, let's do rock, paper, scissors. I don't have a coin around me, so that'll be the easiest way to do it. So we have to say it out loud when we do our rock, paper, scissors, but we're going to do rock, paper, scissors, shoot, and then we'll go.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Let's see if there's a delay. Ready? Here we go.
Let's see.
Rock, paper, scissors,
shoot.
Shoot. Scissors.
Okay, you won. I have
Yay!
paper. So
all right, Audition wins
Audition.
that part of the bracket. Sorry, Candyman.
All right, two more classics. The Shining versus Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
This is hard.
Both of these terrifying for their own different reasons. Yeah, The Shining I saw as a young child, as well as Texas I've seen so many horror movies at a very young age. Way too soon.
Why were your parents letting you watch these things?
I don't know. But I appreciate it. In hindsight, I do appreciate it because I think I think horror movies hit more when you are younger, just because you are more innocent. By the time, if you've seen these movies when you're an adult, you're already jaded by the reality of the world, and so some of these things don't scare you how they could have scared you as a child. So I think I'm a fan of seeing things maybe not too young, but at a younger age, you get to suspend disbelief. So but I don't know. This is a tough one. The Shining is a great movie, of course, starring Jack Nicholson. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a classic, a gritty, grimy, dirty movie that still haunts everybody every time they hear a chainsaw. I'm leaning more towards, if we're going for guts and gore, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. If we're going for thriller and just eeriness and uncomfortability, I would go The Shining.
uncomfortability, the words that we learn on
Yes.
the Hub on Hollywood here on the Hub on Hollywood.
You can quote me on that.
I think I'm going to go with you too. I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre, just for the bloods and in the guts and the whole time, right? It's just your heart is pumping and so many great jump scares. Whereas The Shining, a classic, of course. Sorry, Jack Nicholson, don't come after us. But also a little bit corny. And the story was a little corny too, like a little bit strange. So, all right, we have to give it to Texas Chainsaw Massacre and hope that Jack Nicholson doesn't come for us. That's all.
All right, let's go Texas. Next stop, the Blair Witch Project versus The Conjuring. The Conjuring, a very popular franchise. I will admit, I have seen the first one, but I've slept on the sequels. The Blair Witch Project, however, in my book, I feel like that was a big game changer in the horror industry, especially in it was among, if not the first, kind of like popular lost footage, found footage kind of movie that really broke out and really, started that trend. So just for historic purposes, I would go with the Blair Witch Project.
Okay. So we're moving into paranormal territory now. And we've
moved into paranormal. We've jumped.
Yeah. So, and this is what scares me the most. Paranormal by far. That's the scariest horror, whatever trope for me. I cannot do paranormal. However, I did see the Blair Witch Project when it first came out. Honestly, James, I was so sick just watching. Like, it was so bouncy and jumpy, and like, I know found footage, it was, groundbreaking, but it also like very much made me motion sick. And I had a really hard time actually watching it. The Conjuring, I feel like was just like very derivative. It was like very derivative of like The Ring. I think The Ring came before it.
Yeah, it did.
So screw The Conjuring. The Blair Witch Project for literally making me throw up, both because it was scary and the way that it was freaking shot.
Excellent. The Blair Witch Project. All right, next stop, The Ring. Speaking of The Ring versus Paranormal Activity. The Ring, that hit, both of these movies hit very hard, but in different ways. I felt like The Ring, though I did see it in movie theaters and it was a packed audience, a lot more people were not timid is the right word, because there were people that were screaming and being very loud and stuff and reacting. But Paranormal Activity was on a whole other level of audience interaction and reaction. There was this whole ad campaign where instead of showing like the footage of the movie, they would show recordings of the audience with night vision cameras, and just seeing them jump out of their seats, screaming, hiding, holding each other. That was the publicity. That was what was getting people to fill those seats, and I think led to more people feeling open to scream, shout, react, and it felt like a real audience theater experience. So what are your thoughts?
And it was great because this is also sort of a found footage type of thing between the home security cameras and the cameras that they used themselves to try to record the activity, and the ways that there was no soundtrack. You know what I mean? There was no background noise. It was just silence and then so I would have to go with Paranormal Activity. The Ring, definitely fun, but did not make me as scared as Paranormal Activity. Absolutely made me terrified and afraid to fall asleep. I'm afraid to shower. I'm afraid to sleep. So I'm going to have to give it to Paranormal Activity. The whole, oh my God, the monster going for the little boy and like taking the soul of a child from every generation. Like all that shit, like super terrifying, really got to me. So definitely have to give it to Paranormal Activity.
Okay, next one. This one is the easy one for me, even though The Omen is good.
Easy too.
The Exorcist.
Yeah, 100%.
Exorcist.
Easy peasy, The Exorcist. I'm still afraid. I think I'll be afraid of The Exorcist for my entire life. Maybe it's because we grew up Catholic, James.
The fear of possession.
That one's easy. So moving on.
All right, we have next up The
definitely.
Craft and Carrie. The Craft, I watched several times on VHS as a kid, and I think that one was a little more rewatchable because that had a more little, even though it was horror, it had a little more of a fun vibe to it because you had a group of girls who were delving into witchcraft, and I believe Neve Campbell's in it, and some other, of course, some other actresses, but I can't remember. But I believe Neve Campbell's in it. But that was like more of a fun kind of horror, scary movie. While Carrie, a whole different ball game because you're dealing with this one singular girl, this one singular protagonist who eventually gets her revenge on an entire school and town practically after being bullied and harassed, not only by the people but also her mother. So
No
this one's
wire
if we're going
hangers.
for shock and awe.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's not Carrie.
That's not Carrie? Oh.
That's a Mommy Dearest.
Oh, sorry,
That's Mommy
sorry.
Mother Dearest.
Oh, but Carrie had an
Yeah.
abusive mother
No
too.
more wire
It
hangers.
was Emma! Sorry, Carrie.
No, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, so we
Okay.
have. I would say if we're going for like horror, I would say Carrie is probably the more disturbing one. If you're going for something lighter, The Craft. This one I'm okay with to rock paper scissors if you are.
Yeah, let's do a rock, paper, scissors. I think this one's going to be hard. So, ready?
Okay, you be The Craft. I'll be Carrie.
Okay, sounds good. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Rock.
Okay.
Paper,
Rock, paper,
scissors,
scissors,
shoot.
go.
Rock.
I have scissors. You win again.
I win
so
again!
we're going
Woo!
The Craft.
We're going The Craft. Sorry,
Look at you.
Carrie. I'm really good at rock, paper, scissors. Apparently.
Okay.
Here.
You really are good. All right,
was
we're going
Mommy
to
Dearest.
Creatures.
Creatures. All right.
Mommy Dearest. Also, that's a trippy movie too. If you haven't seen it. Okay, we are going to Creatures now. Jaws versus Alien. This is a tough one. This is a very
too
tough
hard.
one. This is a very tough one. I love Jaws. I love Alien. They're both classic. They're both insanely, incredibly well-made movies. Yeah, so this is a toss-up for me. What are your thoughts? Are you leaning in any direction more than the other?
They're both amazing. Like, these should be like final two type movies. I don't know why they put them up against each other in the first round.
To make this fun and interesting.
Both of these made history. Both of these are like imprinted on the cultural psyche. I'm gonna go with Jaws only because my father-in-law will disown me if I don't. What about you?
I'll go Jaws 2. Jaws
right,
as well. Not
yay.
Jaws 2, the sequel. Jaws, the first one.
Right,
And
okay.
only one. I will say, though, Alien has an amazing sequel, Aliens, though we're not counting that. So we're going Jaws for this one.
Baby shark.
Now, the birds
That's different.
versus
That's also scary.
Nosferatu.
The birds versus Nosferatu.
Especially on repeat.
Yes.
Yeah. I've seen Nosferatu. I think the birds are more iconic just because of Alfred Hitchcock and just it changed the game when it came to man versus nature back in the day.
Nosferatu. I didn't see it. I know that they were making a remake, and they made a remake of Nosferatu here in New England, is where they shot it. I have not seen it. The remake is coming out next year. It's one of those films that's filmed in New England that has been put on hold because of the strikes that are happening right now. It looks like the creepiest vampire, though, from the original 1922.
Oh yeah, the original Nosferatu. Yeah.
There was one in 1979 and one in 1922. I think it's much scarier than Dracula, to be honest. And the birds, way to give generations of people a new phobia of just birds attacking. What, you were leaning towards Nosferatu, were you?
No, the birds.
You were leaning towards the birds. Oh no! I think we're gonna have to rock, paper, scissors again. I'm gonna go Nosferatu, you go the birds. Okay, ready? Here we go.
All right, ready? Rock, paper, scissors, go.
Shoot. Oh, you got me. You got me. He's scissors,
right,
I'm
finally.
paper. He finally on the board of rock, paper, scissors with the
Birds.
birds. The birds. It's for the birds.
For the birds. Okay, this next one, The Descent versus Attack of the Block. Attack on the Block. I can't see the little text, but
I haven't heard of either of these.
What's his name? He was in the new Star Wars movie. He was Finn. What's his name?
Oh, yeah.
Look him up. I'm blanking on his name. I know his name.
We have to cut that part out because my aunt will kill me. No,
we don't. It's staying in.
John Boyega.
John Boyega, yeah, a young John Boyega was in Attack on the Block. Again, this text is very Attack the Block. I saw it. It's good. I think other people like it or love it more than I do. But it's a fun movie. The only reason why I'm not in love with it is because like the main characters, including John Boyega's character and his group of rowdy friends, they're just so I don't like them. And so when they're trying to like be the heroes, because they're just a bunch of jerks. And their characters are not very likable. And so I'm like, why are we following these guys? They're just a bunch of jerks and mean, and now they're just beating up these monsters that I won't give spoilers away, but they are beating up these monsters trying to survive. And so I'm like, okay, maybe other people connected with the characters more than I did, but maybe that's why I'm not a big fan of the movie. But it's good. I haven't seen The Descent. I've heard good things about it. That's a movie about this group of these spelunkers. They're like cave divers, and they're going around. And they're going through this cave, and they get trapped, and then they eventually find out that they're not alone in that cave, and there's a creature that is picking them off one by one. I've heard great things about that movie, but out of fairness, I can't go with that. I would have to go with Attack.
Why would you have to go with Attack? I'm going to go with The Descent.
Because I haven't seen The Descent. Have you seen The Descent?
Oh, I've not seen The Descent, but just based on the description, I'm going to go with The Descent. Gosh,
you know what?
Is there
I'm
like a
okay
rotten...
with that.
Okay, all right. Sorry, John Boyega. Yeah. Sorry, PC.
Sorry, John. We're going with The Descent. Just because I like the concept more than I like the movie of Attack the Block. Okay, next, The Babadook versus Predator. I think this is an easy one. I've heard great things about The Babadook. However, Predator, classic also. That would be my pick.
Okay. Well, The Babadook, I just wanted to give, when I took a screenwriting class in college, The Babadook is one of those scripts that they sort of teach you in screenwriting and in film. It's a classic. It's well made. But yeah, Predator. Come on. We talked to the Predator. Shout out to James, the Predator
Arnold.
guy, who we met in Salem, Massachusetts.
If you haven't been to Salem or haven't gone yet or can't go this year, check out our last episode. Jamie and I walked the streets of Salem, exploring the hot spots and also interviewing some fun movie characters, including one person dressed up as Predator, Salem Predator. I forgot his official title, but check out that episode and follow him on Instagram. Coming up next,
which
Night
City
of the Living
Predator?
Dead.
Which City Predator? Shout out to you.
Which City Predator? Check him out. All right, Night of the Living Dead, the OG one, made in the 1960s, versus Dead Snow, which is about Nazi zombies who come back to life and try to eat and kill people in this cabin. I haven't seen Dead Snow, but I have seen Night of the Living Dead. I think that is a classic. That would be my vote, I think.
All right. Night
very
of the Living
incredible.
Dead.
Not only is it a great zombie movie, but it's also a great kind of time capsule of the period, of the era of the 60s. And it also has double meanings regarding the civil rights movement and segregation and that whole thing. So a great movie with double meanings. So we're going Night of the Living Dead.
That's right. And as we move into the zombie category here, I just wanted to say that I'm very disappointed that The Train to Busan is not in this list. I would love to swap it out, but for the sake of what we're doing here, I just wanted to give Train to Busan. You get extra kudos. But we are moving on to 28 Days Later versus Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, Shaun of the Dead. They're both of these movies are classics. Depends what mood you're in. If you want a hardcore horror movie, a zombie movie with blood, guts, and death, then 28 Days Later is for you. If you want a horror zombie movie with blood, guts, and death, but a humorous one, Shaun of the Dead is that one. Where are you leaning?
I'm leaning Shaun of the Dead because I think we need to lighten the load here. We gotta lighten the a little bit of humor mixed in with this bracket here. So I'm leaning towards Shaun of the Dead.
Right there with you.
All right, here we go.
Right there with you. Okay, coming up next, we have Dawn of the Dead versus Resident Evil.
Ooh, so yeah, this is another one of these video game movies adaptations that we were talking about.
Yeah.
And I really think that they did a great job with Resident Evil. But Dawn of the Dead, another classic, it's a tough call.
Yeah, I'd be leaning. I'm leaning more towards Dawn of the Dead. I think that one has a more rewatchability factor to it, and very creative. I believe that's the one that takes place in a mall, where everyone's trapped and trying to survive the zombie apocalypse. So I would go Dawn of the Dead.
All right, let's go Dawn of the Dead, and we've got one more matchup in the first round. We've got Reanimator versus
Rec/Record. But I've seen Record Rec. That's another zombie. These are all zombie category now, but this one takes place, I believe, in Spain, some Spanish country, and there's like this journalist who gets called to a story where an apartment building, there's like a biohazard, something happens, and they get sent there to cover it. They go inside. They're following like first responders on like a night out, and they get called to this incident, and they end up going into this apartment building with firefighters and I believe some police officers too, and then all of a sudden the apartment building gets locked down, shut down because there is discovered to be like a biohazard outbreak, and then it turns out to be a zombie outbreak, and so these folks are trapped in this place, and they use a lot of that like news camera footage. Reanimator, I have not seen it, but it's about this guy this mad scientist who has found a way to bring a dead tissue back to life, and then I think it's a horror comedy, but I'd be leaning more towards Rec just because of that journalistic angle and like kind of weird, kind of like trapped in an apartment building with zombies factor.
I like the bias. Yeah. I think I'll go with you there on Rec, and I will lament one more time that Train to Busan is not on there because that's my favorite zombie movie of all time.
It is. All
right, so we are on to the second round of the Halloween the Halloween horror movie slasher / everything bracket here. So going back to slashers, James, who have we got up against each other?
So we have this one we can go down a little quicker, but we have Jaws versus the Birds. I think that's the easy pick.
Oh, that's animals.
We're back in creatures. Yes. Sorry, creatures. Should we go with slashers or?
Oh, that's just where we started last time. But
okay, let's do it. Let's stick with tradition. So we're going with slashers, and we have Halloween versus Psycho.
Okay, I think we're gonna have to rock paper scissors it. I mean they're both on the level.
What are you going for? What are you leaning towards?
I'm gonna go with Psycho.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Halloween. All right, ready?
Okay, ready?
Rock, 3, 2, paper, 1. Scissors, rock, go.
Paper, scissors, shoot.
Both
scissors.
Okay. Take 2.
One more time.
Rock, paper, scissors, go. Ah, paper again.
Oh my God, we're not going to be able to pick.
This is a tough one. Last one.
Let's see.
Rock, paper, scissors, go. Fist. Oh
no! This is not ending well.
This is meant
to
be.
On.
No, this is a sign. These are both great movies, and it's very hard to pick. Okay, let's do this one more time. Hopefully. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Scissors beat paper. My paper. So we're going with Psycho over Halloween. All right.
All right.
Now we have Audition versus Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Easy. Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Let's go to Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas. All right, we're going down to paranormal. And so we have Blair Witch, the Blair Witch Project versus Paranormal Activity.
Oh, God. I would go Paranormal Activity.
I would
think
too.
That's definitely where I'm leaning. Okay, all right. Paranormal Activity wins.
Paranormal. Okay. Next we have The Exorcist versus Craft. The Craft. I'm leaning Exorcist.
Super easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to creatures. Jaws versus the birds.
Jaws. I think Jaws. If I don't just say Jaws, I will get in trouble. So Jaws.
Okay, now we have the Descents with the cave monsters, the mutant-type cave monsters versus Predator. I'm leaning Predator.
Another easy one. Yeah.
All right, now we're going into zombies. Night of the Living Dead versus Shaun of the Dead. I think I'm going to hang out with Shaun.
I mean, you got to give it to the classic.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I love the classic, but also Shaun of the Dead is a classic now in its own right. So, rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah. All right, Night of the Living Dead versus Shaun of the Dead. Ready?
Okay, ready? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Take this.
Oh, those scissors.
Choppy.
All right, Night of the Living Dead beats Shaun. And now we have Dawn of the Dead versus Wreck. I'm going to go with Dawn.
I think we did. Yeah, Dawn of the Dead.
Again, anything like...
I agree.
I like that,
I agree.
Trapped in a mall idea. Dawn of the Dead. All right, we're going back to slashers. We're almost there. We have Psycho versus Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
All right, we're down to this is the finalist for these guys.
Yeah.
You said Psycho versus versus Texas Chainsaw?
Yes.
No.
Psycho versus Texas.
Okay. Oh. I am still scared of Psycho. Psycho is more of where I'm going. But are you leaning towards Texas? I mean, where are you leaning?
I'm leaning Psycho.
You're leaning Psycho? Okay, yay, Psycho.
It's a classic, and it still holds up.
I was expecting you to go more blood and guts.
No, I like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it's kind of lower on the lower end of my favorite slasher films compared to Halloween, Nightmare,
Okay.
Friday the 13th and stuff. So yeah, I'm good with Psycho.
Okay.
For paranormal, we're looking at Paranormal Activity versus The Exorcist.
As much as I love Paranormal Activity, I gotta give it up to The Exorcist.
I have to
think
also.
There's nothing scarier.
I love the Paranormal
All right,
Activity,
so-
but The Exorcist is top shelf.
Okay, moving over to creatures.
Now we have Jaws versus Predator.
Oh my god, that would be a great movie.
That would
Don't
be
you think? Jaws versus Predator.
I think Predator would have that one beat. I think he just has to drop a bomb in the water. Unless Jaws has the element of surprise, but Predator also has the element of surprise. So I'm not sure if it's a good creature
but what
versus creature, if they're put in a cage, in a water cage match. But for a movie wise, I think Jaws over Predator. If it was creature versus creature, to the death, I think Predator over Jaws. So how do we look at this?
Yeah. So if it was Sharknado, if it was a Sharknado Jaws, maybe they'd have a chance over Predator. But I think we're looking at this as movies, which movie is better.
Right.
So you're thinking Jaws?
I'm thinking Jaws.
All right, Jaws, King of the Creatures.
King of the Creatures.
King of the Creature movies.
Now, King of the Zombies is either Night of the Living Dead or Dawn of the Dead. Are we going old school classic 1960s or the 2000s Dawn of the Dead modern day zombie fest? When it comes to action and blood, guts, and things again. I think Dawn of the Dead is also like is a classic. It has become a classic in its own right. So I think if we're going classic versus whatever, I think both these are classics. So I think that should be not considered. But again, that's just me. You could consider it if you want. But I'm leaning Dawn. I think Dawn. I think that's rewatchability. I think Dawn of the Dead has more legs. Has longer legs.
Yeah. Longer zombie legs.
Zombie legs.
Okay. I'm with you. Dawn of the Dead.
All right.
So now we have finalists for slasher, paranormal, zombie, and creature. Now it's categories going up against each other. We're going to be doing slasher versus creature. So who are our finalists?
We have Jaws versus Psycho.
Oh, God.
What
would my father-in-law say? I don't know.
Is everything based on your father-in-law?
Yeah, I mean, he's the horror guy in our family.
So
I'm trying not to get in trouble.
No, follow your heart.
No, but it's fine. Follow my heart. I'd have to say Psycho.
I'd have to say Jaws.
What do you say? Oh my God! Okay. All right. Want to rock, paper, scissors it?
Let's rock, paper, scissors it. Okay.
All right. I'm Psycho. You're Jaws.
Ready. Rock, paper, scissors,
rock,
go.
Paper, scissors, shoot.
Yeah, Brock. Okay.
Rock,
Psycho
precious,
it is.
Scissors.
Is your delay... Are you winning because of this delay?
It's possible. Am I cheating? Who knows?
Okay. Now...
I'm not cheating, though. I'm not.
Okay, good. Okay, now we have up next Dawn of the Dead versus The Exorcist.
I think Exorcist all the way. Sorry, Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, I'm going Exorcist too.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're down to our final two.
The final two.
After all this...
For those watching and following along, is this looking like your bracket, or are we completely off when it comes to tastes? But we have Psycho versus The Exorcist.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun,
we need
dun.
like dramatic music here, like dun 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 dun. What will we pick?
I'll add some.
And
yeah. So
some thunder, some music.
Yeah. So both of these, of course, are incredible movies. It changed the genre forever. I hear, and these movies are both still talked about, all the time, and each highly respected. Let's see. I don't know. I think I'm leaning Psycho, but I could be... I think I'm leaning Exorcist, but I could be swayed to Psycho with a good argument.
Well, let's think about the quality of these two movies. Okay. I just believe that the way that The Exorcist was filmed, the way it was written, the way that it was executed, were all, iconic. But I feel like Psycho, the story leading up to all of the iconic, moments is not as strong as The Exorcist.
Yeah, I would agree.
What do you think about story and all that?
I think Psycho is beautifully filmed. It has a really good story. One of the best movie surprises, not just for horror, but every genre. Again, this is a very old movie, so I'm just going to say, but killing off who was thought to be the main character in the beginning in that shower scene it was insane at the time, and it opened the door for pulling the rug under audiences' feet for many movies to this day. And so Psycho did do a lot to further the film industry and the horror industry. However, I think The Exorcist throughout its runtime is top tier, it's gold. And from the writing to the filmmaking, to the cinematography, to the sound effects, to the new technology that it incorporated, to the audience reaction, Yeah, I don't think you can top that. So I would go with The Exorcist.
Okay.
Is that what we're going with?
With The Exorcist. With the mother flippin' Exorcist. I agree, James. I think when it comes to horror movies, nobody can stand up to The Exorcist.
Excellent, excellent. Well, let us
For
know.
the terror, the writing, the execution, everything.
Great. Well, let us know what your thoughts are on The Exorcist. I'm sorry, on this bracket of ours, on the monster match. Does it look like yours? Is it similar? Is it completely different? Are we wrong? Are we crazy? Let us know down in the comments. But yeah, this is so much fun. Yeah, I love horror movies. I admittedly have not seen enough this month, but I think after this I'm going to put on a couple more while I put this podcast together. But again, let us know what you think at Hub on Hollywood. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Now, for a change of pace, change of mood, and vibe, we'll end this episode of the Hub on Hollywood with a review of The Holdovers, a new film that's coming out on November 10th, and a movie that I was able to see a couple of days ago, and which I will be seeing again tomorrow, where it will be followed with a Q&A with the director Alexander Payne. But The Holdovers, filmed here in Massachusetts, in Boston, in Worcester, and in a bunch of other communities. It's about this curmudgeon-y instructor at a New England prep school who is forced to remain on campus during Christmas break to babysit a handful of students who have nowhere to go. Eventually, he forms an unlikely bond with one of them, if I can, I need a drink really quick. All that bracket talk. Dry my
What's
mouth.
in that drink, James?
Yeah. Eventually, he forms an unlikely bond with one of them, a damaged, brainy troublemaker, and the school's head cook, who just lost a son in Vietnam. This stars Paul Giamatti, newcomer Dominic Sessa, who is from Massachusetts, and also Davine Joy Randolph. Overall thoughts? I think this is a great movie. It's a holiday comedy, rated R, for strong language, some drug use, and some sexual behavior. But I think it's a really fun movie that's lighthearted, takes place over Christmas break, but there's plenty of heart and plenty of emotion sprinkled throughout. But you will leave the movie, I think, feeling very positively, especially with this relationship that builds between Paul Giamatti's character and Dominic Sessa's character. Like I said, this is filmed in Boston, Worcester, in Gill, and other parts of Massachusetts. And one thing I noticed in our screening of this film in Boston at the AMC outside of Boston Common is they filmed all over the area, including at the Orpheum Theater, which is just down the street from AMC. They filmed on the Common. They filmed in Worcester on a skating rink and also in front of City Hall in Worcester. And they also filmed during the wintertime, so there was plenty of real snow and snowfall that was happening. And one thing that I like about Alexander Payne, the director, is that he likes to film on location with as little recreated sets as possible. So they shot a lot of this over at the Deerfield Academy, also at another school. And they filmed at Northfield Mount Herman School. So so I love that it feels very very real, very grounded. This takes place in 1970, and it feels like that, most in part because I believe this movie was filmed on film, and so it has that really kind of grainy 70s feel and vibe to it, and so you kind of get sucked in right into the period. And I feel like if this movie was released and you didn't know or were aware of who the actors were, and you just put it on, I think you would think, oh, this movie was probably made back in the 70s because it has that feel, the visual aesthetic, as well as the audio aesthetic and the storytelling. So the Holdovers comes out on November 10th. Check it out, and it's a big 2 thumbs up for me.
All right, and that's wonderful, and we always love to see the beautiful New England locations that make it into the films. If you are a regular listener to the Hub on Hollywood, we brought you the casting calls for background and other parts when they were here shooting. When the strike is over, we will resume our casting calls. Right now, things are at a standstill. But that's part of what we do here in the Hub on Hollywood, is we try to get you in the movies like the Holdovers.
Yeah. So let us know what you think about, have you seen the Holdovers? Comment down below. Leave your comments and your reviews. Also, your thoughts on Five Nights at Freddy's. Also, on our Monster Match bracket. We did a lot of rock, paper, scissors, so I think that's gonna ruffle some feathers, some horror movie fanatic feathers out there. But let us know why we're wrong and why you're right. And also, leave us your favorite Matthew Perry performance or scene, whether that's from Friends, of course, or from any one of his movies. He also appeared on The West Wing, and so it's a tragic loss, losing Matthew Perry at 54 years old. I liked him a lot in the movie Fools Rush In, starring Salma Hayek. That's a fun Matthew Perry movie. And my favorite Friends scene that he's in is when he's dating Rachel's boss, and he's like trapped inside her office, and he's handcuffed to a filing cabinet. And then there's a scene where like he moves his hand really quickly, and it bonks the back of his head. And apparently that was done by accident, but it's one of the funniest moments, I think, in all of Friends, the series. And so let us know what your favorite Matthew Perry scene is, and we'll share it.
All right. Well, this has been another jam-packed episode of the Hub on Hollywood.
Yeah.
We hope you have a very happy Halloween. I hope that there's a SAG deal the next time we talk, James. And until then, I'm Jamie.
I'm James.
And we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.